Welcome back to Big Girl Hunters. Join me back down on my Syndicate water. It's the start of the spring campaign. Well, not just the spring. I'll be campaigning on here all year, really. Syndicate that you would have seen me fish last year had that really nice, dark, long fish from. It's now early April, and it's still fucking really, really cold. Really hard frost this morning. I'm not actually fishing down today. I'm baiting up. I'm just gonna talk you through my kind of process of baiting up. I've only done one night on here this year so far, a couple of weeks ago, due to having a tooth out, getting a dry socket, fishing over the road, work commitments, all sorts of stuff. But what I have been doing, I've been walking regularly and I've been baiting quite a lot. I didn't start baiting last year, you know, the same spot or a few different spots till much further on in the year, because I thought, you know, I'd find out where the fish are feeding, you know, find fish, cast at showing fish, move on them, and I did do that, and it didn't work out for me. So now I'm kind of adapting that kind of bait and wait approach, or, you know, finding some areas, baiting them up through the season, and see if I can kind of get a spot going, establish a bait a little bit earlier than what I did last year. So I'm down here this morning, and I'm going to bait up. So I just wanted to quickly, before I get that done, the kind of tools that I use for baiting up. You know, first I want to talk you through the rod. I always have my rod set up in this fashion when I'm baiting up. It's my Witchwood Dispatch M1 marker rod, and I have it set up just so I can use it basically at any moment. It goes in and out of the car. So if you see here, on the end I've got these, I can't even remember what make they are, I just got them from a carp show, just like kind of rod tips. So yeah, I've got one on the bottom, one on the top. This is the one at the bottom, and I actually keep the marker float on with the lead, and the rod's clipped up at the spot already, so I can literally come and bait up as quick as possible. Yeah, so that's velcroed in, and it's solid. It doesn't move. It only have a little bit of movement on there, but that doesn't do any damage. And I also have my sort of finger stool on there as well, and then just on the end there is the tip, so that's literally ready to go. That's clipped up at the spot. I have that in the car at all times, so I can come after work or whenever. Just like I say, there is quite a few anglers on there now, and you've got to be quite discreet when you're baiting. You know, if you want to get a spot going, but other people, you know, I love sharing my fishing with everyone, but if you want to get something going, you know, you've got to be a bit discreet. So having everything there prepared, all ready to go, you know, that having this set up like that it definitely really helps. So, you know, there's a bit of a tip for you. My second bit of kit is this baiting spoon. Now, the legendary baiting spoon. I tend to use this when I'm baiting up the boat. We're lucky here, we're quite privileged here to be able to bait up from a boat. It does make baiting a lot easier when you're putting bulk baits out. I put out a bucket at a time, or even a couple of buckets, you know, if I'm feeding you know, a bucket of boilie, bucket of pellet, and even a bucket of parker I've done in the past. It seems like a lot, but a lot of tension here. You know, when you're trying to get a spot established, you know, that's the way I like to go. You know, the more the merrier. And you know, you can switch this out, put it on a pole if you want to get under some snags and all that sort of stuff. I've got some of a bit of a pole at home that I can use for sort of close in snags, but I haven't got that with me today. This is just for baiting up on the boat. Obviously, waders, these will come off when I'm in the boat, but the spot that I'm fishing, I tend to have to wade in to cast out. At the moment the lake's flooded, so I can't even get in. I'm going to have to kind of crouch down and cast through the trees. There she is. There's the boat. I'm going to go out on her and bait up. So last bit of kit, obviously essential, is your bait. And I've got in there particle mix, sort of all sorts of things, maple peas, chopped tigers, and then I've also got some nutcracker and some spicy red fish in there as well. So that's the items that I use to kind of bait up, and I'll show you my process in a sec.
Fish are everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. I've got a fish cruising in front of me, just putting his fucking fin out. Madman. The fish are all over me, mate. It's like Jaws.
Well, good morning and welcome back to Big Girl Hunters. Join me back down on my Syndicate Lake. Now this is where the real hunt begins. So what's been going on so far? I got here yesterday afternoon. I had a bit of a nightmare yesterday. I was working from home, Skype video interviewing people. It was all going very well. Then driving up here, the sun was out, was blasting, driving up here towards Ringwood. My tyre completely blew out on the way down, which wasn't fun. And luckily, it was literally like 300 yards where the tyre went. 300 yards was a garage, and then behind that is a tyre place. So I was really lucky to be able to get that fixed, and I got a new tyre put on within about half an hour. It was all done back on the road and back to the lake, so it could have been a disaster, but it was actually the carp gods were looking out for me, as it were. So I got down here. It's very hot, it's very busy. There was 13 people on. There's now 17 on, I believe. The busiest I've ever seen it. I've never really seen it more than 10, to be honest. I spent a good couple of hours walking around. I did not know where to go, but there was sort of fish everywhere. I saw fish in the snags, I saw fish down the bottom end, where I was talking to one of the other lads. We were watching them for about 20 minutes, just cruising in, just, you know, they were topping the surface. They were even like, you know, let their heading up and the fins were going up. It was lovely watching them. And then I sort of, on my third lap round, you know, I saw so many fish down this bottom end, in the shallower end. This is a swim where I have fished before, and I have been tricking in a little bit of bait over the winter. So I was looking at two real areas really. Looking at right in the middle of the lake where it fins up a channel, and it's an area that the fish patrol up and down, so it's a really good place to set some traps and try and intercept them. That's always a good when they're kind of everywhere. But like I say, on my third lap round, I ended up down in this bottom end with the fish just going mad. You know, sort of cruising up and down. I saw a couple of lumps as well. So what I did is I cast a couple of naked chods out, sort of 20 baits spread out across both of them, and then put one out in the margin. They were coming right in. Basically what they were doing is coming in the middle and then swinging round and then coming into the margin and then sort of coming back out again. So I waded out into the margin bit, went up the tree, saw a bit of a clear spot, waded out there, and because all around that bottom bit where they're kind of swooping round on the bottom bay, there's lots of like blanket weed, and it's, to be honest, it's a bit of a shit one because it's that sort of candy flossy stuff, that silky candy floss float. Oh, it's disgusting. But I did manage to find this nice little spot, and I went out there and put loads of particle out, about 5 big handfuls of particle pellet, few nutcracker strawberry, and just placed my nice little yellow one down sort of amongst it, and that just looked pucker for a bite. And I had a tench off it in the middle of the night. Bloody thing. They started showing, they were boshing real close, and then it ripped off with a tench, typical. So I weighed it back out there, put it back out again at night. I could see there was still a bit of bait left, so I just put one handful back over, and I did have a bit of a weird finicky take, like the sort of the. I'm fishing fluoro, quite a heavy line and completely slack, and it went and the rod jolted, and no way was it a liner. I think I've been done. I'm just going to go up the tree and see if I can see if there's any bait, or if I can see my hook bait, 'cause it's quite a visual hook bait. So see the spot, and I'll show you the spot, and hopefully we can get one. There was a few showing this morning, but it has quietened down a little bit as the time gets on. I've been awake since 3 o'clock because there were so many fish showing and boshing. It was just mental, really. It's now what time is it? 9:33, 21st of April, and it's mega warm, and it's looking good for a bite. Bit gutted about that. I'm convinced I've been done, but the hook was razor sharp. I sharpened it to pinpoint its perfection. Like it pricked me about 4 or 5 times, that particular hook. Hands really sore. I keep picking myself. Well, I'm getting really into the sharpening again, and yeah, I love that stuff. Neat getting them razor sharp. But anyway, I'll get up that tree and show you what's what. Right, so I'm up in a tree, high up above my sort of margin spot. I found a nice little clear spot amongst all the weed. You see that there, little glowing spot, and I put a good sort of 4 or 5 handfuls of mixed particle, sweet corn, pellet, strawberry cracker, you name it, it was in there. But overnight I've just gone to check it, and you can see they've pretty much cleaned up all the bait. There's a few nuts down there and a few boilie, but most of the particle's gone, which is really interesting. And I did have a bit of a finicky, twitchy. See if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, you can see the boilies, if I can point them out. Sort of over here and here. They're all that's all nutcracker. But it's really interesting. Yeah, I did have a bit of a finicky take, so I think I might have been done. And my hook bait is nowhere there, so I'm going to reel in and see what's going on with it. My hook bait was right in the middle of all that, like right in there, and it's a little yellow one, so I don't know where the hell it's gone. So let's go find out. Right, so as you just seen, I've just replaced my margin rod. It was a good half a rod length off this where I placed it, so something, whether that's a tension or a carp, has moved it, and yeah, like that, a lot of the particle is gone, so I'm feeling a bit gutted about that. Like I say, there was so many carp down in this corner. I've got to believe it was a carp. Lad just opposite me has caught one, I don't know when, I've just seen it on the Facebook page. He's just caught one, or at some point this morning, or last night, so he's fishing in close down. It was 3 of us on this little, to be fair, it was probably too many of us down here, but there's another lad came in between me and him much later in the night, but it's looking good. I think with these temperatures, I think there's still fish every now and then topping this. It looks like there's a few. They never stay anywhere for too long in this lake, so I'm praying that they can stay for a bit longer, because I just don't fancy the chances in a day. I'll give it to sort of midday, and then I'll probably put out some long pop-ups. You're not allowed foam or zigs really to use proper zig rigs, so I'll put out some like 3-foot pop-ups or something out there for a bit, and then again, I know he was spomming out some bait where I went in with the stealthy. I just put in a few boilies over the top and like a few handfuls in the margin. So, but he was spomming, like the fish didn't seem to mind when they were cruising around. I thought it was going to be the touch of death when he was spomming all around the sort of cruising fish, but worked for him. So yeah, I might put out some bait myself later, and we'll see how it goes. But there's still good chances, I reckon. So the margin trap is set. The other 2 I've just left out. They'll be sitting proud, ready to go. Hopefully I'll just get a chance. Hopefully it's just a matter of time.
I've got a visitor.
FA Cup semi-final. Bloody United just equalised, for God's sake, bastards.
And I've got a visitor on a little picnic. There was a few fish out on the spot earlier, so it's looking good. I'm getting a bit lower pressure later and a bit more rain, so hopefully push them down, get their heads down and get on the feed.
Well, good morning. Oh man, where do we start? It's been the most craziest lightning storm last night. A couple of waves of it, but really heavy rain and really strong lightning. To be honest, I wish I got some of it on film because it was absolutely stunning, but pretty scary stuff when you're in a little brolly. And I had the water just flowing right. I haven't got my ground sheet on. It's just because I'm on a slight slope, so the swim is actually called the slope. The water was just gushing down through, so I had to get everything up and on the sides. It was a fucking nightmare, to be honest. And quite a few liners, but no takes, and a completely different story from yesterday morning. I've seen a couple of tents smash out this morning, but no, I had them on me yesterday like crazy. They were boshing over the spot, fish cruising, and that was my chance, and I just couldn't make it happen. And they have definitely, I'm not saying there's not 1 or 2 still down this end, but you know, it's very pressured. This end doesn't get fished that much, and we had me here, another lad literally just across, and then opposite me, and then a guy turned up to my right. So there's too many lines, and I'm sure whether it's to do with that or not, they never stay in one place for too long here, and they just fucked off somewhere else. And there is not the fish. There was so many fish down here the first day and night, and then again yesterday early morning. It just didn't happen. Like I said, I did get done on the left-hand rod. I'll look into that a little bit further and try and figure out what I can do. The hook was razor sharp and got replaced, but by that time the kind of fish had pushed out from the margin and much more out into the centre of the lake, where I did have two rods waiting for them, but they're just not having it. That's fishing for you. Like I say, the lad across the way did have one yesterday morning, stocky common, nice fish. But yes, none of the originals have come out yet. They've all been the stocked fish. So, they're big old fish. There's some big fish in there, and they're hungry, and they must be eating. So, don't know whether they're just the smarter ones or what, but I'm sure they are. But we'll see. Unfortunately, I've got to pack up in an hour or so. I've got some stuff to do. So I've had my time for it. There's still, while there's a rod in the water, there's still a chance, but at this point it's safe to say I've failed once more. I hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll get back to it soon. Tight lines.